Good morning, everyone. You can all hear at the back, can you? So I talk very quickly, so don't try and write verbatim what I say. I'm happy to give you copies of the slides later if you want them. So my company, Screen Pages, we're very, very focused. I've discovered a lot of you here are sort of general online marketers, whereas we just build online stores for retailers or people selling to a trade, but just e-commerce websites. So that's our skill. We're not marketers or anything. However, all the people that we work with, they're trying to market their goods on the internet. We use Magento nowadays. I don't know if you heard of it. It's a clever piece of software that does most of the things that people want to do out of the box. Here's some of our clients. I won't bore you with a list because I've got lots of examples. Just before we start, who's working on e-commerce in the audience? Hands up. So that's about half of you. What are the rest of you doing? Just general marketing, and you're here to learn. Who actually runs an online shop? A few of you. Okay, so this is going to be great for you and sort of kind of intellectually stimulating for the rest of you. So the agenda is to look at the overall process flow of human beings through online stores. So we start at getting customers, getting visitors. Then we look at how to create an impact with those kinds of visitors. Then we have to persuade them to buy. Then we have to make it easy for them to buy. And guess what? We have to get them to come back. So I'm going to look at all the things that you can do within that cycle. The first thing I can say is no silver bullets. A lot of people say, oh, I'm going to build an online shop and I will be successful. But actually, it's not about the shop. I've learned over the years, I've been doing this for 15 years now, it's never about the shop. It's about you, your products, and your marketing. Before you start, however, I would measure, because we all have great ideas, don't we? And we have CEOs who have even greater ideas than we do, and strong feelings, and they know someone down the road who knows a lot. So what you should do is measure. So my 3 measure tips. Firstly, Google Analytics. It's a free tool. You should study it. Who looks at their analytics every day? Who looks at it once a week? Okay, so 50% of you are good. And to make it easy, you should build a dashboard which pulls out the 5 or 10 things that you're really interested in. I can send you a link to the one that we put on our stores as standard to help our clients get started. And then what I'd also do, there's a firm up in Newcastle called What Users Do, who for about 20 or 30 quid will do a free 20-minute video of people trying to use your website. You learn more about your website that way than any number of other people telling you about it, because those are people trying to shop. And they say, oh, here's a good story. We used to work for a company who sold bed linen on the internet. And they had all these clever product buyers and merchandisers who organized the website in a certain way. But what's the first thing you think of when you're buying some new sheets for your bed? It's a quiz. Come on, guys, you know this stuff. Color, quite good. No, bed size. They had nowhere on their site do they have bed size as a kind of navigation. Do you know why? Because all the sheets were available in all possible sizes, so they didn't think it was an issue. We're consumers. We're stupid. How would we know that? And then finally, my other tip is put a survey on your website. The best place to put it, from experience, is on the order confirmation page. So you complete your order. It then says, "Ooh, tell us 2 or 3 things about your shop." And the best thing you can do is a little text box, and they type in how they found their experience or any other feedback they want to give you. You capture all that and you measure it. And that's the input to further decision making. So getting new customers, I'm not going to read it all out, but these are all the things that typically people do. Here, this is useful. This is a breakdown of where, for our kinds of clients, so niche retailers selling somewhere between £500,000 and £10 million a year on the internet of goods. This is where their traffic comes from. So this is search. The top 3 are search, then email marketing, then referrals. Now, if you look at the conversion, that's the amount of traffic from each of those different sources. So roughly split the same. Search in aggregate is probably about 50 or 60% of all traffic. But if you look at the results that you get from the individual sources of traffic, I've highlighted 2. The best performing sources of traffic, this is the average conversion ratio, which is the ratio of visits to orders, is from email marketing and brand-related searches. By brand-related search, I mean the name of your company or your brand, not the generic term. So then it's not a hoodie that's typed into Google, it's, for example, for the sake of example, Uniqlo hoodie or Uniqlo, okay? So that's the best bit. So all this stuff about content and SEO, etc., which is primarily about generic search, not about your brand, because you're going to get your brand searches anyway. That's by far and away the best performing traffic. There are some lessons you need to learn from that. There's the pound per visit if anyone's interested. Now in our industry, everyone talks about conversion rate. Do you all know what conversion rate is? Okay, ratio of visits to orders, and everybody gets terribly excited about it. And guess what? There's an entire industry called conversion rate optimization. So they look at your website and they come up with new and clever ways to get people to buy more quickly. Actually, the weather is more important. So this is what happens to people's sales. When it's freezing, we behave this way. All the retailers are moaning about September and October because it was hot. And that affected their conversion ratio because we weren't really in the mind to buy winter clothing, were we? No amount of conversion rate optimization would have dealt with that. That would have been somebody thinking, ooh, we can still sell sandals and t-shirts. That would have improved that. And here's a graph from an actual client. It goes all over the shop, and it's seasonal, it's based on promotions. So think about that. That's about your overall proposition, not about your website. SEO. Well, actually, I should apologize. Nowadays, we call it content marketing. What we used to call SEO it's content marketing now. So, but basically, sort out the stuff on your site. You've probably had lots of talks about that already. And page title is the most important, then the meta description. Make sure you've got keywords in your copy, have a sitemap, and ultimately it's all about links, which is probably what everybody else has been telling you. If you want to find out how to do it properly on an e-commerce website, if you Google SEO and Magento, you'll find an article on our website about how to set it up. And in terms of your product catalogs for the e-commerce people, the keywords are already in your product categories. They're in the category names and your product names, but make sure they're properly on the site in the right places, predominantly there. Get in Google, have a sitemap, and then make sure you're in the Google shopping feed. I think it's called Google Merchant Products or something. But you can automate all that, and that will give you good coverage in the search engines. A few words about content. Can you see this at the back? You've got good eyesight. The hardest pages to get good content for is the category page, which is the hoodies page, or the t-shirts page, or the garden rakes page, because most people, it's just the garden rakes page. But they're actually very important landing pages. Put a blog on your site. So this is for shops who don't necessarily think about content, they think about their products. Put a blog on your site, because that's a great content distribution vehicle. And optimize it for the target keywords, which is about having how-to, buying guides, frequently asked questions, inspiration and ideas if you're a fashion company. You have to do this stuff, because if you don't, you're not going to even inspire or engage with your customers. And then make sure when you do it, you have the right words and the right links on your site. So here's an example. This is one of our clients, Athley Road. They were voted one of the, they're a startup business now, 2 years old. Last year they got in Vogue's top 100 shop list, which is quite impressive. And for me, if you look at the design of the site, it's a white site. That wasn't too difficult. It's functionally very rich, but all the content and the material is them working really hard to take great photographs and do fantastic copy. A little word on social media. From the Kings, look at that, ASOS, 3.5 million followers on Facebook. Now they're regarded as the #1 online retailer in the UK. Excuse me. Help. Tech, please. What? Oh, I knocked it. Okay, because I'm time constrained, I'm just going to carry on. So on this slide, it just says you've got to do the social thing, but the main thing I wanted you to know is from the websites that we run, it's about on average, it's about 1% of total traffic comes from social. And it converts on average at about 0.1% versus somewhere between 3 and 4% on average, okay? And we all dream of, we all get into this whole social thing, but somebody in your companies needs to think, okay, how valuable is it? How do I measure it? Most of the time you can't, but you need to be mindful of that because it can be a huge time suck. That's an American expression. Having said that, we work for a number of charities. One of them recently had a huge drive. You probably saw it on TV. And I've got the stat here. Half their traffic was coming from Facebook. And on one day, they had 87,000 visitors to the website. So that's a lot of traffic. So for a cause, i.e. strong viral content, it can be very compelling indeed. That was that slide, basically. The next slide is a picture, so I can talk you through it. I've got a little thing. Most people don't know the results they get from search engine optimization, or who knows how to measure the results they get from search engine optimization? You can't nowadays, because most of the material is not provided. Do you all know about not provided? So Google doesn't let you see the keywords. Forget that. Get the ones that are provided, and mathematically you can then say, well, if it's 10% of the provided, it's roughly going to be 10% of the not provided. So that's a simple way of measuring that. And if you use SEO agencies, use that number in your quarterly reviews regarding their performance. Otherwise, you will spend a lot of time and money chasing these number one slots. I have a case study later when the material comes back. It's the case study now. Okay, so we work with a client called Christopher Ward, who sell British designed, Swiss manufactured watches. It's a startup, it's a great story. It's been trading for 6 years now, and the guys who started it used to run the Early Learning Centre. They sold it, and they said, what should we do next? And they figured out there was a gap in the market for premium watches priced at between 300 and 400 quid with the same manufacturing and the same movement as Swiss watches, but at that kind of price point. And they actually test marketed the price point. So they pursued the SEO Holy Grail, and they went into it thinking, oh, the long tail, it'll produce great results for it. And they looked at their search terms and so forth, and it ended up being 55% of their total sales. They invested in it, and they got a 5-fold increase in generic traffic. That's not brand-related traffic. You'll appreciate the difference between brand-related and generic traffic in 6 months, and which went from 5% to 10% of their total traffic. This is generic. However, it was only 6% of the sales. So it's a lower return on investment than all the other good stuff, email marketing, brand-related traffic, etc. They even got a number 5 search result for Swiss watches. Most people think, oh, that's good. However, that was generated 400 visits a month and 0 sales. So they get the Swiss watch traffic, it comes to their site, oh, no, I didn't actually want that. So it's a waste of time and effort. They also got on the first page of watches. In general, people typing watches into Google, they had no sales from that whatsoever, and therefore lost a lot of money on it, a negative return on investment because. So make sure you get the right kinds of search terms. Are we going to get this sorted, guys?
Yeah, do you know what you pressed?
I didn't press anything, to my knowledge, so. Anybody see me press something? I might have collided with it. I'm definitely having more time, aren't I?
The guy said it's better if we run late. So.
Aha, do you want to see what you're missing? That's the graph. So not a lot, don't worry about it. I only had to sort of ad-lib a little bit. So however, what works best is offline marketing, ho-ho. So talk about killing the goose that lays the golden egg. So we find mail order customers with their catalogues and so forth and their direct mail. They're prodigiously successful because we get the catalogue and it's sitting around on our coffee table. My home, hundreds come in through the door and they work. Just saying. And the other thing you need to think about customer acquisition is mobile, obviously. So here, this is the traffic. Nowadays, it's 21% from them, 27% from this is an e-commerce website. For our kinds of clients, we pool all the statistics. Those are the devices that bring the traffic. So is it an opportunity? Look at the conversion ratio, however. 2.9% on average on tablets, 4.5% on desktop, less than 1% on a mobile. So I think the lesson there is think about mobile, how your kinds of customers are going to be using mobile devices to do their shopping. Who's going to buy their next pair of shoes on a mobile device? This is a question targeted towards the women in the audience as opposed to the blokes. Women, who will buy definitively their next pair of shoes, do all the research and all the browsing and buy it online? Okay, so you're going to research online and buy offline. So that's 2, 3. It's a good question. So the lady's asked, is that on mobile optimized? It's a mix. Some of them are mobile optimized, some of them aren't. Even if they are mobile optimized, it's lower. Just because I put it to you, I wouldn't buy my next pair of shoes on a mobile device. I do it on a desktop or I do it offline. I'm not saying mobiles, just think about how people, your kinds of customers, would use mobile in the context of your products and your marketing. And then, so we have one client, Donald Russell, who sells steak. And they've got a royal warrant, it's posh stuff, it's more expensive than Waitrose, but it's brilliant. I strongly recommend you try it, sign up for their mailing list. If you want a good example about catalog-based marketing, sign up with them. Their business, the way they use mobile is they communicate special offers by email, knowing that you'll hop onto the website and buy the special offer. You're not expected to browse and research and so forth. You're just taking advantage of an offer that's good for this Friday with delivery on Saturday, that kind of thing. Speed matters for conversion. So this is that's all our traffic acquisition stuff. Now we're going to look at where people come in on the website. Look, the home page is about less than 40% of the landings. The category pages and product pages. So that's my page. This is hoodies. This is the blue hoodie, for example. Sorry to use hoodies. So most people don't land on the home page. Fact. Because you only have one page and you've got thousands of other pages and they're all in Google, and that's where the traffic comes in. The bounce rate, though, that's the number of people who don't click into the site, is much, much higher on these other pages. That's because they don't get much time and attention. We all spend, when we design our new website, we all spend a vast amount of time thinking about the homepage, and we share it around and we get feedback, etc. But nobody goes there. They might go there coincidentally, or if they do a brand search and so on. But it's about all these other pages, and there are many, many more by volume. So please think about these pages, and there's a big opportunity there. So how do you engage customers once they've come in? Well, if you're selling lifestyle goods, new latest sale categories, a lot of people have the product categories, but they don't have them. Have regular and varied promotions. They work a treat. That gives things are always changing. There's always something I can get. Lots of content and brilliant lifestyle photography. A lot of people just put product shots up, but they don't have lifestyle shots. A product, do you understand the difference? So there's a difference between the car and rich, successful guy with lots of girlfriends leaning against the car. There's a little bit more emotional impact there. Sorry if you find that example offensive. It was just the only one that came into my head and I'm working quickly. And think about your landing pages, because you control where people come into your website, because that's your listings, your advertising, your email marketing. Just make sure that they work in that way. We spend a huge amount of time worrying about client navigation. By navigation, I mean how you categorize your overall products. It's the hardest thing in the world. And the people who usually organize natively without any thought your product's navigation is your buyers, who actually, by buyers I mean merchandising, people who buy the product, as opposed to consumers. And as in the example before about the bed linen, the way the consumer navigates the website is not the way your buyer buys the products for it. So you really need to pay attention to this. So Christopher Ward introduced a chronograph. And they had a category in their main navigation called chronograph. Anybody know what a chronograph is? No, and they're saying nobody goes to our chronograph page. Well, but we all buy what are they called? Pilot watches? Like the Breitlings with all the things that come out the side. What are they called? Help me here. Anyway, you know the ones that fly us, aviator watches. We all know what an aviator watch is. And if they'd called it aviator watch, people would have piled in, but they didn't. So think about that. Drop downs. Filters. Filters don't actually, people only use filters when they're desperate to find the goods that they're looking for because they're not clearly laid out. It's like asking a shop assistant. Where are the ones in my size, please? It's only because I couldn't find them. And it's like that on a website. Put your products in the right order. Increasingly now you can get merchandising technologies that will put the best sellers at the top, or the ones that have the ones that are most popular, all sorts of algorithmic things which save your time as merchandisers. Consider your different approaches to navigation. So John Lewis introduced these multi-tier drop-downs that we're all familiar with, and now they're incredibly popular, rather than the sort of single column drop-down from the olden days. So just make sure, there's all sorts of tricks about doing this. You can put there, in that example, little popular picks within each category to suck people in. They're all easy things to do on an e-commerce site nowadays, and I'd advise you to consider them and use them. It's difficult if you've got 10,000 products, I do admit. Right, I just want to talk about these category pages, which are, again, I sell gardening goods, I've got barbecues, and then I've got Weber. So those category pages are very difficult, because if you look at on the site's usage, they're usually about 50% of all the page views on a shopping site. Because people come to the home page, they go into a category page, oh, I'm in the wrong place, they go back up to the category page, oh, I'm going to choose the next one, they go back up. They're also used as landing pages, so I was talking about their routing page, and some of them, depending on the nature of the goods, will also have add to basket on, so they're conversion pages. So your trick, your skill, what you need to consider is how on earth I can get them to work properly and pay a lot of attention to detail. I don't have all the answers because it depends on your individual product ranges, but please, 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 given the importance of them, those three important functions, make sure you consider that. 68% of the people don't arrive on the home page, and nearly 4 in 10 of those leave. That's a waste of your marketing budget. All this online marketing, good stuff you're doing, it's wasted if they just disappear without clicking into your site. And it's largely because of this. Category pages letting you down, or landing pages if you want to call them that. So here's a few little things you could do. So this is the CR UK, Cancer Research. Description, that can be hyperlinks, and you'll see it's directive in the sense that they can go into individual subcategories, and pictures of the goods on offer within a category page. It's a simple thing to do, that's just a piece of content. I'm not showing you complicated stuff, by the way, I'm showing you easy stuff that doesn't cost much. This is the RSPB. Look what they've done on their products. These are all dynamic. So they're website administrators, they're non-techies, they're just marketing types, can say, ooh, dynamically put a little overlay on the image based on a set of rules. If it's a new in, if it's on sale, and that draws consumers in. It's really easy to do, particularly in the Magento world. Product pages, I'm going to show you a few examples. Get the copy right. A lot of people have copy-free product pages. It's a waste. Just please spend time doing it. And make sure you've got clear calls to action and how you actually transact, how you do the stuff that you want to do. Think about this. What goes with it? Because they might have arrived there because they're kind of interested, but it's not exactly what they want. That happens a lot, doesn't it? So make sure you think about the cross-sales or the alternatives before you do these things.